It was a quiet morning in the city. Too quiet for Daniel's pounding heart. He hadn't been here in 10 years. 10 years since he walked away from everything. Her, the unborn child, the life that could have been. Now, as he stepped out of the cab and stared at the towering glass building before him, a cold realization crept in. The logo above the entrance shimmered in gold. EVAHOLDINGS. Her name. The woman he once left behind. He swallowed hard. It couldn't be her, right? But deep down, he knew. The universe has a cruel way of circling back. Inside, the receptionist greeted him with a polished smile. "Do you have an appointment, sir?" Daniel adjusted his worn-out blazer, trying to look important. Tell Mrs. Eva Reynolds that Daniel is here." The name hung in the air like a ghost. The receptionist's smile faltered just for a second. Then she nodded and picked up the phone. Daniel's hands trembled, but he masked it with arrogance. 10 years ago, he thought he was too good for her. Too ambitious, too restless. She was the small-town girl who loved too deeply, and he was the dreamer who couldn't stand still. He told himself he was chasing success. But success was supposed to come with happiness. So why did he feel hollow now, standing in front of the woman who built an empire from the ruins he left behind? Moments later, the elevator doors opened. She stepped out. Ava. No longer the girl he abandoned. She was elegance and power wrapped in calm control. Her hair swept neatly over one shoulder, her dress tailored, her eyes unreadable. For a second, the world froze. Daniel's voice cracked. "Ava, it's been a while." Her expression didn't change. 10 years to be exact. That tone, steady, measured, the kind you use when you've rehearsed forgiveness but never really gave it. He tried to smile. "You look amazing." She turned slightly. "Follow me. We shouldn't talk here." And as he trailed behind her, passing portraits of her standing beside CEOs and politicians, his pride began to crumble. Every photograph screamed a truth he didn't want to face. She had built something extraordinary, without him. But that's not where this story begins. To understand this moment, the weight in her voice, the ache behind his regret, we have to go back. Back to the night he left her. It started in a small apartment on the city's edge. Ava was 6 months pregnant, humming softly as she folded baby clothes. She was glowing, her heart full of dreams, believing Daniel would be home soon with takeout and that goofy smile he always wore after work. But Daniel was late. Again. Her phone buzzed. A text. "We need to talk." Her stomach tightened. Those words never meant anything good. Minutes later, the door opened. Daniel walked in, eyes cold, expression distant. He didn't hug her, didn't look at her belly. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice already trembling. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Ava, I can't do this." The words hit like a blade. "Can't do what?" "This. US. The baby. The life you want. It's not me. I've got an offer in New York. Big firm. Big future. I can't throw that away." Her hands shook. "Throw it away?" "Daniel, this is your child." He flinched at the word child, but his pride wouldn't let him show it. "I'll send money. I'll help when I can, but I'm not ready to be a father." Ava's voice broke into a whisper. "And you think I'm ready to do it alone?" He looked away. "You'll be fine, Eva. You always figure things out." That was the last lie he ever told her. She stood frozen as he packed a bag, every zip and click echoing like a nail in the coffin of their love. He didn't even say goodbye, just left the apartment door half open as he walked out into the night. Eva sank to the floor, surrounded by half-folded baby clothes, tears spilling onto the fabric. She held her stomach, whispering to the life inside, "It's okay. Mommy's here. We'll make it. I promise." Outside, Daniel hailed a cab, eyes fixed on the city lights ahead. Blinding, beautiful, deceptive. He thought he was chasing freedom, but freedom would soon feel like punishment. And so began two stories moving in opposite directions, one rising from ashes, one sinking under the weight of regret. He built a career, but never peace. Every success was haunted by the echo of her voice. And she built something stronger, herself. But 10 years later, fate would bring them face to face. And this time, the balance of power had shifted. The night Daniel left, the rain didn't stop for days. It was as if the heavens themselves mourned what she lost. Eva sat by the window of that tiny apartment, her hands resting on her belly, feeling the small movements inside her as though the baby was asking, "Where is he?" She didn't have an answer, only a whisper. "We'll survive. I promise." The days that followed blurred into gray. She dragged herself to her cafe job, apron tied over her swollen stomach, pretending she wasn't breaking inside. Her manager scolded her for being slow. Customers stared, some whispered. But she kept going. Because she had to. 2 weeks before her due date, she was let go. "Business is slow," they said. But Ava knew what it really was. She was inconvenient. That night, she packed what little she had and moved into a small room above a laundromat. The wallpaper was peeling, the floor creaked, but it was shelter. Then, one early morning, the pain began. Alone, terrified, she dialed a taxi and barely made it to the hospital. Hours later, through tears and trembling, she held her daughter for the first time. Tiny fingers, quiet breathing, a warmth that filled the cracks inside her. "Lily," she whispered, "that's your name. You're my reason to keep going," and she did. The months that followed were brutal. She sold handmade candles at street fairs, took typing jobs at night, cleaned offices after hours. There were nights she cried herself to sleep, the baby beside her on a mattress that was more springs than foam. But she never stopped. For every tear, there was a spark of resolve. For every door that slammed, another opened, just enough for her to push through. Then came the turning point. A woman named Margaret Shaw, a regular at the cafe where Ava once worked, found her online. Margaret was a quiet investor with a reputation for spotting potential. She saw Eva's little side business selling homemade candles and soaps online. She messaged her, "Meet me. I think we can build something." Eva thought it was a scam, but desperation made her brave. She met Margaret in a downtown cafe with Lily in a stroller by her side. Margaret smiled. "You have something rare. Authenticity. People feel it in your work." That meeting changed everything. With Margaret's guidance, Eva launched her first real business, Luma Essence, a small batch skincare brand made from natural ingredients. At first, it was tiny, a rented kitchen, hand-printed labels, long nights. But social media noticed. Her story, the single mother who turned heartbreak into healing, resonated. Within 2 years, she had her own warehouse. Within 5, she had an empire. Meanwhile, Daniel's life wasn't what he imagined. Yes, he got the job. The city, the car, the tailored suits. But every night he came home to silence. Relationships came and went. None lasted. Every laugh sounded hollow. Every woman, a reminder of the one he threw away. He followed Eva's name sometimes online, though he'd never admit it. He saw photos of her at charity events, on magazine covers, holding her daughter, that same child he never met. He told himself he didn't care, but each time it burned. Years passed. At a business summit, Ava met William Reynolds, a venture capitalist, charming, older, brilliant. He admired her mind first, her resilience next. He became her mentor, her confidant, the quiet force that reminded her she was worth loving again. They didn't fall in love instantly. It was gradual, built on respect and understanding. He adored Lily, treating her as his own. On their wedding day, Margaret handed Eva a small note. It read, "Some storms come to clear your path." Eva smiled, tears glinting in her eyes, because for the first time she wasn't surviving. She was living. Across the city, Daniel watched a video clip from that wedding online. He didn't know why he clicked it. He told himself it was just curiosity. But as he saw Eva walk down the aisle, radiant and peaceful, something inside him cracked open. He closed his laptop, sat in the dark, and for the first time in 10 years, he wept. That was when he decided. He needed to see her, to explain, to somehow make it right. But the world had changed, and the woman he once left behind was no longer the one who waited. In 10 years, Eva had become everything he thought he wanted. Powerful, admired, unbreakable. But when he would walk back into her life, he'd realize the truth. Some doors don't reopen. Some hearts, once shattered, never look back. 10 years. A decade of silence, regret, and what-ifs. Daniel's return wasn't planned. It wasn't noble. It was desperation. The world had moved forward, but he hadn't. He was 35 now, gray at the temples, confidence replaced by restlessness. He'd lost his job 6 months earlier, replaced by someone younger, hungrier, and far less haunted. His savings were gone. His phone no longer buzzed with invitations or calls. And in the quiet of his empty apartment, Eva's name echoed louder than ever. When he saw her face on the cover of Forbes Women, it wasn't pride that hit him. It was something darker. Regret, envy, shame. All twisted together until they became one unbearable truth. She had won. Eva Reynolds, CEO of Luma Essence. The woman he left behind had built an empire from the rubble he created. He told himself he only wanted closure. But deep down, he wanted something else. He wanted validation. He wanted to believe he hadn't thrown away his only chance at love and family. He arrived in her city late one afternoon, the skyline bathed in amber light. Everything looked foreign. The streets, the people, even the air. It felt like the world had evolved without him. He walked past a billboard that caught his breath. It was her. Eva, poised, confident, graceful. The tagline read, "Empowerment begins with self-worth." The words sliced through him. He remembered the night he told her she couldn't survive without him. He remembered the arrogance in his voice. And now, here she was, proof that she never needed him in the first place. He checked the company website, memorized the address, and the next day stood in the marble lobby of Eva Holdings. When she stepped out of the elevator, it was like time froze. She hadn't aged. If anything, she glowed more than ever. But it wasn't makeup or money. It was peace. Daniel forced a smile. "Ava, it's been a long time." She looked at him for a moment, calm, distant. Then, 10 years. Her voice was soft, but her eyes were sharp. Not angry, not warm, just unreadable. "Why are you here, Daniel?" she asked, crossing her arms. He hesitated. I I just wanted to see you. To talk. You had a lifetime to talk." The elevator chimed behind her. She turned to leave, but he stepped forward. "Ava, please. I know I made mistakes. I know I hurt you. But I've changed. I'm not that man anymore." Her laugh was quiet, almost pitying. "You think this is about change?" He froze. She stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. "I spent years rebuilding myself from the ashes you left. You didn't just walk away from me, Daniel. You walked away from your child." His throat tightened. "Our child, Lily." Eva's tone softened, but only slightly. "She's a wonderful girl. Smart, kind, everything I hoped she'd be. But she doesn't know you. She's never needed to." Her words landed like punches. "Ava, please," he said again. "Just let me meet her. I just want to see her once." "Please." There was a long silence. Then she sighed. "You want to meet her?" "Fine, but not as her father. As a stranger. Because that's what you are to her." That evening, he sat across from Lily in the company cafe. She was 16 now, poised like her mother, but with his eyes. Her hair fell in soft curls, and she smiled politely, the kind of smile you give a guest, not family. "So," she said, "Mom says you're an old friend." Daniel's chest tightened. "Yes," he whispered. "An old, very old friend." She tilted her head. "Did you work with her?" He nodded quickly, his throat dry. "Something like that." She smiled again. "She's amazing, isn't she?" Everything she touches turns to gold. Daniel swallowed hard. "Yeah, she is." For a brief moment, he saw what his life could have been. Family dinners, laughter, maybe even forgiveness. But that moment was gone as quickly as it came. When Ava returned, she thanked him for being civil. Her tone was polite but final. He rose to leave, but before he could step away, Lily asked, "Will I see you again, Mr. Daniel?" He froze. Ava watched him carefully. He forced a small smile. "Maybe one day. Be good to your mom, okay?" "Always," Lily said brightly. He turned, walking toward the door. The moment it closed behind him, his smile collapsed. Later that night, Daniel sat in his car outside their mansion, headlights off, staring at the life that could have been his. Through the window, he saw Eva laughing with her husband, William Reynolds. Lily hugged him goodnight before disappearing up the stairs. Daniel watched them, every second tearing another piece from him. For the first time, he realized he hadn't just lost Eva. He'd lost the version of himself that could have been good. He whispered to the night, "I thought I left you behind, but you never left me." And in that quiet confession, regret became his only companion. The empire he abandoned had risen without him. The love he traded for ambition was gone, and the family he never met was living the life he'd always wanted. It was too late to fix it. Too late to go back. Too late to be forgiven. But fate wasn't finished yet. Because the next morning, Daniel would get a call. One that would shatter the fragile illusion of peace he still clung to. The next morning, Daniel woke to the sound of rain. Again. It always rained when his past came knocking. He sat on the edge of the bed in the cheap motel he'd rented, staring at the phone buzzing on the nightstand. Unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Mr. Daniel Carter?" a calm voice asked. "This is Dr. Hannah Lewis from St. Mercy Hospital. I'm calling regarding Eva Reynolds." The name froze him. He gripped the phone tighter. What? What about her? There was an accident, the doctor said. She's stable now, but she asked for you. His heart stopped. Asked for me? Yes. She said you'd understand. The hospital corridors felt longer than miles. Every step was heavy, every breath tighter than the last. When he finally reached her room, the sight almost broke him. Ava lay against the pillows, pale but composed. A small bandage above her temple. Even injured, she radiated that quiet strength he could never match. Her husband wasn't there, probably handling the press, or Lily. Daniel stepped closer. Eva, are you okay? She opened her eyes. They softened, but only slightly. You came? You asked for me. A weak smile touched her lips. Funny, isn't it? The man who left me once is now the first face I see when I wake up. He swallowed hard. If I'd known you were hurt, Don't, she said sharply. Don't finish that sentence. The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. Finally, she said, It wasn't serious. Car accident. Some drunk driver ran a red light. But for a moment, lying there, I thought it was over. And I realized something. He leaned in, hesitant. What? That I forgave you a long time ago, she whispered. But not because you deserved it. Because I refused to let you own any more of my pain. Her words cut deeper than anger ever could. He lowered his gaze. I don't know what to say. She smiled faintly. You never did. He tried to meet her eyes, but she turned to the window. You wanted to see her, didn't you? She asked. Lily? She's still processing, Eva said softly. She doesn't know the full story yet. But she will soon. I owe her that. Daniel nodded slowly. Maybe she'll hate me less if she knows. Maybe, Eva said. But don't do this for forgiveness, Daniel. Do it because you owe her the truth. That night, Daniel sat in the hospital cafeteria, watching the rain streak the windows. He hadn't eaten, couldn't sleep. His mind replayed every cruel word. Every night he walked away from responsibility. Every moment he told himself she'd be fine. And yet, even now, after everything, she had faced him with gras weeks past. The accident faded from the news cycle, but not from Daniel's conscience. He'd returned home, but home felt like a sentence now. Empty walls, unpaid bills, and the haunting echo of what could have been. Ava, meanwhile, healed quietly. Her husband, William, shielded her from the media storm, while Lily returned to school and kept her world small but steady. But something inside Eva wouldn't rest. Closure, she realized, didn't come from forgiveness. It came from finality. And there was still one thread left untied. So one evening, she wrote a letter, addressed simply, Daniel Carter. Sometimes we don't need to reopen old wounds. We just need to make sure they've finally stopped bleeding. The letter reached him 3 days later. His hands shook as he opened it. Daniel, it began. I don't know where this finds you, but I hope it's somewhere safe. I want you to know I did love you once, deeply. The kind of love that forgives even when it shouldn't. But life has a way of teaching us that some chapters don't need revisiting. I hope you find peace, not penance. Because forgiveness was never for you. It was for me. He stared at the page for a long time. And then he cried. Truly cried. For the first time in years. The next weekend, he drove out to the coast, to the small town where they once dreamed of living together. The house they'd once talked about. White shutters, sea breeze, laughter echoing through the halls. was there, but it belonged to someone else now. He stood at the fence, watching a couple play with their kids in the yard, and whispered, "That could have been us." It wasn't anger anymore. It was mourning. Meanwhile, Ava stood in her garden, the evening sun painting gold across her face. William approached, wrapping his arms gently around her waist. "Long day?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "A long decade, maybe." He kissed her temple. "It's over now." She nodded. "Yes." Finally, in the doorway behind them, Lily watched, still uncertain, still piecing together the truth about her father. But as she saw the way William looked at her mother, she understood something important. Family isn't about blood. It's about who stays. For every person who leaves, there's someone who stays. For every love that breaks you, there's one that rebuilds you. Ava learned that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the quiet courage to move on, even when your heart still remembers the pain. Months later, Daniel sat at a small cafe by the pier. He was different now, quieter, older, humbled. He'd found work at a local repair shop, fixing broken things. Fitting, he thought. He carried Eva's letter in his wallet. Every time he thought about reaching out again, he stopped himself. Because some ghosts deserved their rest.